Chapter 2049. He thought that Xiao Qing was just making up an excuse, but he didn't know that Xiao Qing was telling the truth. Su Jiao's expression changed when she heard Xiao Qing's words. In Xia City, who else could look like her other than Su Jian? Her expression immediately turned cold. You've got the wrong person. With that, she turned around and left without another word. Chu Ming was dumbfounded, and Xiao Qing was deep in thought. Chu Ming was a little confused. Why did she suddenly leave? Xiao Qing shook his head. I don't know. Let's go back. Chu Ming was confused by his attitude. Aren't you going to chase after her? Xiao Qing was even more confused. Why should I chase after her? Chu Ming was shocked. Didn't you spend so much effort to strike up a conversation with her because you like her? Xiao Qing. He looked at Chu Ming meaningfully and said, imagining things is a disease. Chu Ming. Xiao Qing had already made up his mind. Su Jiao also angrily walked to a cafe. She ordered a cup of cappuccino and sulked by herself. Why could she still feel Su Jian's shadow in the capital? It was simply annoying. She thought of that man just now. He was a handsome man who fit her taste very well. She thought that he was here to hit on her, but the moment he opened his mouth, he asked about Su Jian. Su Jiao was annoyed. How could he distinguish between her and Su Jian? If she had known earlier, she would have lied and said that she was the one he met at that time. She thought to herself. A man who had ambiguous thoughts about Su Jian had actually slept with her. It couldn't be any better. Unfortunately, her attitude just now was too intense. Su Jiao sighed inwardly and comforted herself not to think about it. There were plenty of fish in the sea. She was going to hook up with someone better than the man just now. At midnight, Su Jiao, who had put on exquisite makeup, slowly walked to a famous bar street in the western district of the capital. She looked around for a while and chose a place she frequented. After going in, she didn't provoke anyone. She just ordered a few glasses of wine and slowly sipped them. It seemed casual, but there was a knack to it. Her beautiful red lips opened slightly, revealing a little bit of her red tongue. The clear wine flowed from her red lips into her mouth. Occasionally, a trace of it slid down her white chin, past her sexy collarbone, and into her snow-white breasts. Gulp. Su Jiao seemed to hear the sound of saliva being swallowed. She knew that at least a third of the men in the bar had already locked onto her. She was pleased with herself, but she did not show it on her face. She, Su Jiao, never needed to take the initiative to find a man. There were many men lining up for her. Soon someone walked up. Miss, may I have the honor of treating you to a drink? The man asked politely. Su Jiao looked at him critically. His figure was weak. At first glance, she could tell that he was a white-collar worker who lacked exercise. Her lips curled up into a gorgeous smile, but the words that came out of her mouth were the most hurtful and poisonous. You have the nerve, sir. I'm afraid you can't satisfy me. The man left with an ashen face. The next one would be here soon. He continued to be rejected. After repeating this scene for a long time, Su Jiao finally heard a deep voice that piqued her interest. I wonder if I can satisfy you? I'm really sorry, today's update is a little late. Everyone, rest early after reading it. Good night, good night. Chapter 2050. Su Jiao's ears twitched. The man's breath fell on her ear, hot and hot. No matter what his appearance was, his voice was quite to her liking. She turned her head and looked over. A tall and powerful man appeared in her sight. Gu Shengyin, who was listening to light music and reading at home, heard the prompt sound of the system. Su Jiao and that man were together. That man was the one who mistook Su Jian for Su Jiao in the original plot and forcibly kidnapped her and tortured her to death. Gu Shengyin carefully bookmarked the pages of the book in her hand. Her delicate eyebrows wrinkled. This development was much faster than the original plot. In the original plot, Su Jiao and that man hooked up after they both went to college in the capital and became adults. It was precisely because Su Jian was also in the capital that Su Jiao could put the blame on her sister without any burden. It seemed that this time, Su Jiao was sent to the capital in advance, which made a lot of things change. This time, Gu Shengyin was quite curious about how Su Zhiyao would deal with it. She couldn't use Su Zhiyao, who was still in Xia City, as an excuse again, could she? Looking at the time, Gu Shengyin closed the book in her hand, turned off the light, and prepared to rest. Her work and rest had always been quite regular. The next morning, Gu Shengyin didn't receive any prompt from the system until she went to school after breakfast. Thinking about it, it was obvious that people with short nights would not wake up so early. Sure enough, when the morning self-study was over and the first class was about to start, Gu Shengyin finally got the feedback from the system. The conclusion made her a little surprised. Maybe it was because the current Su Zhiyao hadn't seen all the sales like in the original plot. She was quite satisfied with that man. Similarly, that man was quite satisfied with Su Zhiyao's young and tender body. Su Zhiyao didn't prepare to leave after sleeping with him as in the original plot. Instead, she exchanged contact information with the man. It seemed that she had a long-term plan. In this case, all of this had nothing to do with Gu Shengyin. Everything was developing in a completely different direction from the original plot. She was in a good mood the whole day. Even when Mama Su suggested that they go to the capital during the school holidays, she didn't express any disgust. She knew very well in her heart that Mother Su was simply missing Su Zhiyao, who hadn't been home for almost 3 months. Mother Su was pleasantly surprised to see that her eldest daughter didn't resist. Gu Shengyin sighed. This mother had never given up on any of her daughters. For the past 2 years, she had been trying to mend the relationship between her 2 daughters. Gu Shengyin didn't even have the heart to tell her that it was all in vain. She and Su Zhiyao could never be reconciled. Gu Shengyin's school and Su Zhiyao's school had different holidays. Ji Sua had a 3-day break at the end of every month, and Mama Su's intention was to visit the capital during those 3 days. Gu Shengyin didn't have any objections. She would just treat it as a trip. Meanwhile, in a mansion somewhere far away in the capital, Xiao Cheng's voice was calm. Yes, help me buy a ticket to Xia City at the end of this month on the 29th. After hanging up the phone, Xiao Cheng's eyes were filled with anticipation. Chapter 2051. Just last night, he finally made a decision. He was going to Xia City to look for the girl he had only met once, but had never forgotten. He wanted to meet her and confirm what was going on with that inexplicable impulse and nostalgia in his heart. He didn't know if she had changed after not seeing each other for more than a year. Xiao Cheng didn't doubt that he would recognize her. After all, no one else had ever given him such a strong feeling. The 29th arrived quickly. The weather had turned cold, and the temperature had dropped over the past few days. When Gu Shengyin went out, she had already put on a long windbreaker. Mother Su didn't tell Gu Shengyin that she was going to see her younger daughter. Over the past year, her eldest daughter's attitude made it difficult for her to bring up the matter. On the contrary, Gu Shengyin felt a little distressed when she saw her mother's conflicted look. She simply said, "Mom, when we reach the capital, you can go see Su Zhiyao on the way." Mother Su was happy that her eldest daughter had taken the initiative to bring up the matter, but then she immediately reacted. She was talking about her going to see her. For a moment, Mother Su didn't know what to feel in her heart. She asked, "Yan, aren't you going to see your sister?" Gu Shengyin shook her head. "Better not. If I see her, I don't think either of us will be happy." Mother Su's mouth moved, and Gu Shengyin could see that she still had something to say. However, there were some things that she could do for her mother, so she would naturally do them. But there were also some things that couldn't be compromised no matter what. There weren't many people in the first-class cabin, and the seats around the mother and daughter were empty. Gu Shengyin lowered her voice and said in a voice that wouldn't disturb others, but was loud enough for her mother to hear clearly. "Mom, I know what you want to see. But Su Zhiyao and I can't be sisters anymore." Mother Su looked at her with a sad gaze. Gu Shengyin hardened her heart. "Mom, I'm sorry." She turned her head away and pulled down her blindfold, no longer looking at her mother. Mother Su didn't say anything else. Gu Shengyin had something on her mind, and she fell asleep during the steady and boring flight. When he woke up again, he heard the notification that he was about to land. She took off the blindfold and met Mama Su's gentle gaze. Mama Su took her hand. "Yan, Mama won't force you. Mama was thinking that since you two are sisters, you can take care of each other in the future if your relationship is good. If you really don't like it, she paused for a moment before saying the rest of her words, no matter what, as long as you're happy. Gu Shengyin heaved a sigh of relief. Sure enough, in the heart of any parent, they were infinitely tolerant of their children, even if she was the one who made such a willful request. The plane landed safely, and the mother and daughter left the airport. At the same time, a man who was preparing to go to Xia City also hurried over. Xiao Qing had a meeting in the morning. By the time it ended, it was already very late. He rushed to the airport. Just as he was about to enter, his eyes suddenly widened. He saw two people coming out of the airport gate. Of course, although there were two people, his gaze almost completely fell on one of them. It was her. He hadn't seen her for more than a year, but she had hardly changed. Chapter 2052. Xiao Cheng stood there and watched as the figure walked towards him, getting closer and closer. He also wanted to see it more clearly. There were still changes. She seemed to have grown a lot taller, and her face was longer and more three-dimensional than before. Xiao Cheng subconsciously raised his leg to get closer to her, but after taking a step, he stopped. If he went over to look for her so rashly, would he be treated as a lunatic? Did he want him to say, I haven't been able to forget you ever since I saw you a year ago? Anyone would think that such words were a hooligan. Moreover, Xiao Cheng glanced at the middle-aged lady beside Gu Shengyin. Looking at their similar faces, they were probably mother and daughter. It seemed like the mother and daughter had something to do, so it was better not to disturb them. As he was letting his imagination run wild, he suddenly met someone's gaze. Xiao Cheng was shocked, and he subconsciously straightened his back. She's looking at me. Xiao Cheng swore that even when he was young, he had never been so nervous when his father tested him on his homework. He had washed his hair before he went out today and specially tidied it up. Yes, his taste in clothes was not bad, and he didn't do anything that would make people feel disgusted. Xiao Cheng evaluated himself and came to a conclusion. He looked pretty good today. After he thought about it, he looked at the other party confidently and was about to give her a gentlemanly smile. However, where was she? Xiao Qing? He came back to his senses and realized that the mother and daughter had already walked past him and walked out. They went up. Xiao Qing felt like an idiot just now. However, even though he was an idiot, he was still quite happy in his heart. He had originally wanted to go to Xia City to look for her, but now she had come to the capital herself. It saved him a lot of effort. Seeing the mother and daughter get into a taxi, Xiao Qing hurriedly got into the car and followed them silently. Young Master Xiao Qing, who had always prided himself on being open and aboveboard, felt like a wretched man who was secretly following a beauty. It was simply heartbreaking. Gu Shengyin couldn't help but laugh. Mother Su, who was sitting beside her, looked at her strangely. What's wrong? Why are you so happy all of a sudden? Gu Shengyin used the phone in her hand as a shield. Nothing. I just saw a funny joke. Seeing this, Mother Su didn't ask any more questions and simply said, Don't play with your phone in the car. Be careful of your eyes. Gu Shengyin smiled and nodded. Of course, she noticed Xiao Cheng. Not only did she notice him, but she also saw him secretly sizing her up, but when she looked at him, he lowered his head. Of course, now, Gu Shengyin could clearly confirm that the two low-key black cars behind him were following him all the way. They looked inconspicuous. The taxi stopped at the gate of Su Jiao's school. Mother Su got out of the car and sighed when she saw that her eldest daughter had no intention of getting out. Gu Shengyin said obediently, I'm waiting for Mom at the hotel. Their itinerary had already been arranged. Gu Shengyin didn't want to stay at Su Jiao's apartment, so she had already booked a hotel. Xiao Cheng followed behind and watched as the older lady got out of the car. The person he was thinking about was still in the car. Of course, he continued to follow without saying anything. Gu Shengyin got out of the car and walked into the hotel. Xiao Cheng sat silently in the car, thinking about how to strike up a conversation. Chapter 2053. Then he saw Gu Shengyin walk out alone. Xiao Cheng thought for a moment, stopped the car, and slowly followed her. The person in front didn't seem to have a destination. She was just taking a stroll, or rather, she just wanted to walk around the capital. He followed her for about 20 minutes. Xiaoqing took a look. This was a famous theme park in the capital. Gu Xingyin walked in. Then she found a lounge chair in a more remote location and sat down. Xiaoqing was thinking about whether he should go up when he saw the other party raise his head and look at him. He was shocked. Had he been discovered? Xiaoqing glanced at the other party. The other party's expression was gentle and calm, and no emotions could be seen. He thought for a moment and felt that this was a good opportunity to strike up a conversation, so he walked over. He walked up to Gu Xingyin. Before he could think of a way to greet her, he was shocked by her words. "You've been following me since the airport. What's the matter?" The other party didn't seem to be afraid. She tilted her head and looked at him with a hint of a smile in her tone. Xiaoqing felt a little embarrassed. After all, his behavior was really like that kind of. In short, it was filled with an indescribable perversion. He opened his mouth, but in the end, he helplessly realized that his actions really couldn't be washed away. He couldn't help but want to cover his face. Gu Xingyin looked at the man's unpredictable expression with interest. In the end, she said, "I'm sorry." She couldn't help but laugh. She winked at Xiaoqing and said, "Since you're so handsome, I'll forgive you." For the first time, Xiaoqing was so grateful to his parents for giving him a handsome face. To be fair, Xiaoqing wasn't an introverted boy. His family background, the education he had received since he was young, and the environment he grew up in were enough for him to speak frankly in any big occasion. But now, he felt at a loss for words in this quiet little world. He really wanted to strike up a conversation, but he didn't know what to say. "Sigh, does she think of me as a pervert who goes up to a beauty when he sees one? Aya, she looks so cute with her eyes lowered. Her eyelashes are so long. I really want to touch them." Xiaoqing, the idiot, automatically switched to his imagination mode in his awkward state. Gu Xingyin waited for a while, but she didn't hear anything. She couldn't help but raise her head curiously. Then she saw Xiaoqing's handsome face with a mesmerizing smile. Gu Xingyin, logically speaking, did he really not have any special hobbies? Fortunately, Xiaoqing was very sensitive to his surroundings. When he sensed Gu Xingyin's gaze, he immediately put away his smile and kicked those strange thoughts out of his mind. Then he asked seriously, "My name is Xiaoqing. May I know?" Gu Xingyin also reported her name. Successfully obtained the name. Xiaoqing was very happy. After his imagination ended, Xiaoqing seemed to have returned to normal. He sat down on another bench and took the initiative to chat with Gu Xingyin. For someone like Xiaoqing, as long as he was willing, he had many ways to easily gain the favor of strangers. Even if it wasn't a good impression, it wouldn't be annoying. Especially now that he was trying to please Gu Xingyin. The conversation between the two of them was quite happy. Until Gu Xingyin received a call. Xiaoqing listened to her quietly. It was probably her mother calling to ask her to go back. Gu Xingyin hung up the phone. Chapter 2054. At a time like this, of course, he had to increase his favorability. Xiaoqing immediately said that he could send her back. Gu Xingyin didn't refuse. Then, the car drove to the entrance of the hotel Gu Xingyin had booked. Xiaoqing didn't open the car door immediately. He looked at Gu Xingyin and hesitated. Gu Xingyin sighed and said, "Let's exchange contact information." Xiaoqing was overjoyed. That was what he wanted to say. But on the other hand, he felt that asking for contact information for the first time, it didn't seem right. The two of them quickly exchanged contact information. Gu Xingyin suddenly said, "If you want to pursue me, hesitating like this won't do you any good." Xiaoqing. Gu Xingyin continued, "Why do you think I'm so polite to a man who's following me? Or do you think I'm such an easy to talk to and have no temper?" Xiaoqing was stunned. Gu Xingyin said, "I'll stay in the capital for 3 days." Then she opened the car door and got out. Xiaoqing was still in a daze. After a while, he seemed to come back to his senses, and a puzzled and ecstatic expression appeared on his face. Without another word, he called his childhood friend, Chu Ming. "Chu Ming, I have something very important to ask you," he said seriously. Chu Ming, who was shopping with his new girlfriend, was shocked by his serious tone. He let his girlfriend shop on her own and walked to the other side. What happened? Then, Xiaocheng told him about how he met Gu Xingyin today. Of course, he repeated what Gu Xingyin said in the end without missing a word. After that, he asked a little nervously, "Do you think what she's trying to say is the same as what I'm trying to say?" Chu Ming. He gritted his teeth and said, "Did you feed your 190 IQ to the dogs? She's already hinted so clearly, and you're still asking me? Hurry up." Such a stupid guy deserved to be single for 10,000 years. This was the first time Xiaocheng felt that his childhood friend's voice was so pleasant. He suddenly laughed. "I got it. All right, there's nothing for you to do now. You can go now." After that, he hung up the phone. Chu Ming, who had been miserably abandoned after using her, Gu Xingyin had just returned to her room when she received a message from Xiaocheng. "Do you have time for a meal tomorrow? Have you finally figured it out?" Gu Xingyin gave an affirmative answer. Then there was a knock on her door. Opening the door, Gu Xingyin was not surprised to see Mother Su and Su Zhiyao, who was well-dressed, standing outside the door. Sure enough, Su Zhiyao had always known what kind of daughter her parents liked. Gu Xingyin looked indifferent. She nodded at Su Zhiyao. Seeing her eldest daughter's expression, Mama Su was a little embarrassed. She gently tugged at her younger daughter, and Su Zhiyao softly called Gu Xingyin, "Sister." After she said that, she looked at Su Zhiyan eagerly, not knowing what kind of response she was expecting. Gu Xingyin did not respond. She gave a faint hum, and her attitude was no more enthusiastic than before. So Su Zhiyao was dissatisfied again. She glared at Gu Xingyin angrily and snorted heavily. Gu Xingyin still ignored her. Mama Su had to stand up and smooth things over. "I just ordered food from the nearby Tianhe restaurant. I heard it's very famous. Shall we go for dinner together?" Chapter 2055. The entire dinner was filled with an awkward atmosphere. Mother Su tried her best to ease the atmosphere, but one of her daughters was only focused on eating, while the other was unhappy after being treated coldly. The whole scene was like this. "Mother Su, come, Yan, try this. Yao Yao, you try it too. Su Zhiyao, you won't even look at me. So angry. Gu Xingyin, oh, this is delicious. This is not bad either." In the end, she could only helplessly send Su Zhiyao back to school. Of the three of them, only Gu Xingyin was satisfied with the meal. The hotel wasn't far from where they were staying, and Gu Xingyin planned to walk back, treating it as a digestion. A sudden change occurred. She had only walked halfway when a strange aura attacked her from behind. She took a step back and accurately avoided the man's embrace. There was a hint of surprise in the deep voice. Gu Xingyin's expression turned cold, and she turned to look at the stranger behind her. She could tolerate her lover's occasional perverted behavior, but she couldn't tolerate other men doing such things. The man in front of her was very tall, at least 1.9 meters. His face was resolute, and under his rolled-up sleeves she could see the bulging muscles. This was a man with an aura as strong as a wolf. He narrowed his eyes, and his expression seemed a little unhappy. "I haven't seen you for 2 days, and your temper has grown." At this time, Gu Xingyin also knew who he was. Wasn't he the man who tortured Su Zhiyan to death in the original plot? Of course, he was now in a sexual relationship with Su Zhiyao. "This man," Gu Xingyin said coldly, "who are you?" The man thought she was playing some kind of game, and reached out to grab her, saying obscenely, "Who am I?" "You'll know when we're on the bed." Gu Xingyin's expression turned fierce, and without saying a word, she dodged to the side. Her figure flashed, and she was already in front of the man. Then, with a swift and violent kick, she slashed at the man's waist. The man's expression turned serious, and he reacted quickly. As he retreated, he reached out to block Gu Xingyin's congratulations. "So heavy." The man took 2 steps back and looked at Gu Xingyin as if looking at a monster. How could such a small body have so much strength? Gu Xingyin, who had the help of the system, did not continue to chase after him. Instead, he maintained a defensive posture and looked at him. She actually hated this man. The reason why he didn't care about him was because he knew that in this world, he and Su Jiao were together. Gu Shengyin didn't pay any attention to the matter between the two of them, holding the thought of letting the wicked deal with the wicked one. She also wanted to see what would happen to Su Jiao after provoking this man. The man's hawk-like eyes locked on Gu Shengyin. You are not Su Jiao. He was well aware of the capabilities of the women he had slept with. Gu Shengyin sneered, I said it from the beginning. The man looked at her closely, as if he was looking at a rare thing. Are you willing to follow me? Such a woman was strong in bed with her lover, and amazing in fighting as a subordinate. Gu Shengyin glanced at him coldly, and the killing intent in her eyes was clear. Do you want to die? She turned and left. I'm different from Su Jiao. Let go of those disgusting thoughts. If you push me too hard, I'll make you regret it for a lifetime. Chapter 2056. The man stood behind Gu Shengyin and didn't follow her. Firstly, he hadn't figured out Gu Shengyin's background yet. Secondly, his aching hands reminded him that if he didn't use firearms, he wouldn't be able to keep her. Even if the man had some power, he wouldn't dare to use firearms in public in the capital. That night, Su Jiao received a call from the man. A girl who looks exactly like me? Su Jiao's expression didn't look good. She snorted. But, are you interested in her? The man's deep voice was as sexy as ever. How is that possible? That woman looks pure and simple. How can she be compared to my little wild cat? This kind of sweet talk didn't work on Su Jiao at all. She said, don't try that. That woman is my sister, a famous straight-A student. She's not like us. She made it very clear that she wanted the man to stop having any ideas about Su Jian. Of course, Su Jiao wasn't thinking about Gu Shengyin and didn't want her to be targeted. She said that to the man because she wasn't tired of that man yet. She had classified that man as her own, so she naturally couldn't stand him being attracted to Gu Shengyin. In that case, wouldn't it prove that she couldn't compare to Su Jian? She definitely wouldn't allow that to happen. The man probably understood what she meant and didn't continue the topic. However, no one knew what he was thinking in his heart. The next day, Gu Shengyin received a message from Xiaocheng early on. He had already booked the time and place. Mom, I'm going out to play. I won't be having lunch with you. Mother Su was a little surprised. Where are you going alone? Gu Shengyin smiled. I have a good online friend in the capital. Mother Su was a little worried when she heard that. Online friend? Could it be a scam? Gu Shengyin had to comfort her. Don't worry about Mom, we have an appointment to meet in a place with many people. She is afraid that I am a bad person. She told a small lie. Otherwise, Mama Su wouldn't have dared to leave her alone. Even so, Mother Su was still worried and insisted on going with them. Gu Shengyin sighed and shook her phone. Can you report your schedule at any time? My friend will be nervous if you're here. Seeing her daughter's insistence, Mother Su could only give up. When Gu Shengyin went out, she reminded him worriedly, remember to call me. The two of them had agreed to meet at 11 o'clock, but Xiaocheng arrived before 10 o'clock. Last night, he had repeatedly called out Chu Ming, which almost drove him crazy. I say, Uncle Xiaocheng, don't ask me any tricks or strategies. The lady has already made it so obvious. You need to be more attentive and diligent today. Show your ability to compete with the client. As long as you don't make any stupid mistakes, you'll definitely succeed. He was still a little worried. He had woken up early in the morning and groomed himself for half a day. He was finally satisfied after making sure that every strand of hair was in its proper position. When he went out, the old man, who was sitting on the sofa and watching Beijing opera, turned his head to look at his grandson a few times. Where are you going? In front of this old man who had been on the battlefield, Xiaocheng had always been serious and almost never hid anything. He subconsciously replied, to see your future granddaughter-in-law. Chapter 2057. There was silence. Old Master Xiao didn't even watch his favorite drama. He held his walking stick and turned to look at his grandson. I think I just heard a granddaughter-in-law? Xiaocheng pursed his lips and answered honestly, Not yet. How well did old Master Xiao know his grandson? With just these words and his grandson's current expression, he knew what stage his granddaughter-in-law was at. It was obvious that this brat hadn't taken her down yet. He stomped his walking stick on the ground. Then why aren't you going? Xiao Cheng responded and walked out. When he walked out of the door, he heard the old man's energetic voice. Remember to bring her back for me to see. Xiao Cheng sat in his seat and kept looking at his watch. It should have been something that he was very confident about, but at this moment he started to worry about gains and losses. He couldn't help but wonder if yesterday's conversation was just a hallucination. She wouldn't go back on her word, right? As he thought about it, Xiao Cheng felt like he was retarded. If such behavior happened to anyone else, he would definitely be able to use sharp words to make the other party regain their lost IQ within 10 minutes. But when it came to himself, he sighed softly. As expected, the result of caring too much was definitely to worry about gains and losses. Although he had always looked like a humble and polite young master, with his identity, his life had always been smooth. How could he not have a trace of pride in his bones? Even 2 days ago, if someone had told him that one day he would be so worried about gains and losses because of someone, he would have lost his confidence. Xiao Cheng would have smiled faintly. On the surface, he would have been able to deflect the person with little effort, but in his heart he would have cursed the person and added him to the permanent blacklist. But now, Xiao Cheng thought expressionlessly that he might be the retarded one. It was 10:30 p.m. He couldn't help but take out his phone to call Chu Ming. Just as he dialed the familiar number, he saw a familiar figure walking towards him. Xiao Cheng put his phone down on the table and stood up. On the other side, Chu Ming, who had been partying with a group of friends all night, saw that it was his childhood friend calling. He endured his sleepiness and answered the call. "Hello." No one said anything. "Chu Ming?" He shouted again. Xiao Cheng watched as Gu Shengyin sat down. Only then did he remember that his phone was still connected. Seeing that it was still connected, he hung up without saying anything. "Chu Ming?" He thought that something had happened to Xiao Cheng, so he called him again. When Xiao Cheng saw the call, he quickly replied without hesitation. The pitiful Chu Ming looked at the sentence, "I'm busy right now. I don't have time to pay attention to you. If there's anything, let's talk at night." His muddled brain reacted for a while. "Fuck, who's looking for you? You were the one who called me." He angrily threw the phone at his feet and went back to sleep. "You can answer the phone first," Gu Shengyin said when she saw Xiao Cheng's behavior. Xiao Cheng shook his head. "It's nothing important." He understood Chu Ming. If there really was something important, he could call you a dozen times in one go. Either you answer his call, or you get annoyed and blacklisted. Xiao Cheng handed the menu to Gu Shengyin. "What do you like to eat?" Gu Shengyin glanced at it and didn't stand on ceremony with him. She casually pointed at a few dishes. Xiao Cheng was obviously very happy to see her attitude. He took the menu and ordered 3 or 4 more dishes. After ordering, he handed the dishes to the waiter who was waiting at the side. He looked at Gu Shengyin without blinking. Gu Shengyin smiled and said, "Why are you looking at me? I'll continue later." Chapter 2058. Cheng asked hesitantly, "What did you mean by what you said to me earlier?" Of course, Gu Shengyi knew what he was asking. But now, she wanted to be naughty. What did you say?" Xiao Cheng felt a little embarrassed. "You said that if it wasn't me, it was another man." Gu Shengyin blinked and said, "Exactly what I said." Xiao Cheng scratched his head. Gu Shengyin, on the other hand, looked at him with amusement. She wanted to know how long he could hold back before he spoke. Xiao Cheng's other hand on the table couldn't help rubbing his wrist. To be precise, he was rubbing his watch. This was his habit. When he was nervous or thinking about a problem, his body would subconsciously do this. Xiao Cheng looked at the girl opposite him. There was a faint smile on her exquisite face, and her big black and bright eyes were looking straight at him. Her gaze seemed to be filled with encouragement. He suddenly had an epiphany. The hesitation and nervousness from before disappeared in an instant. He looked deeply into Gu Shengyin's eyes, but the words that came out of his mouth stunned her. "The first time I saw you was a year ago. Gu Xingyin was surprised. Why didn't she know about this? Xiao Qing seemed to have completely calmed down. He relaxed his body slightly and leaned against the back of the loose and soft chair. He looked at Gu Xingyin and smiled. At that time, I happened to go to Xia City to play and saw you at the entrance of a middle school. I only saw you once and hurried back to the capital. I've been serving you for nearly a year and a half. I haven't been to Xia City again, but I haven't forgotten you. The smile on Gu Xingyin's lips deepened. This reaction made Xiao Qing happy. He told a secret that he had never told anyone else. Actually, 2 days ago, you saw me at the airport. It was I who had arranged the things in my hands and was about to go to Xia City to look for you. Gu Xingyin's eyes widened. Xiao Qing smiled. He seemed a little embarrassed, but his eyes were shining as he looked at Gu Xingyin. I want to find the girl I've only seen once but can never forget. I want to see her, I want to ask her. He looked at Gu Xingyin, and there seemed to be a galaxy in his eyes. I want to ask her if she has a boyfriend. Gu Xingyin asked, what do you want to do now that you know the answer? Xiao Qing smiled. If she doesn't have a boyfriend, I'll apply for a job. I refuse to accept this possibility. Gu Xingyin was amused by his domineering and willful words. Facing the man's expectant gaze, she pretended to ponder for a while and finally said, well, since you're so handsome, I'll allow you to take up the post. It was only at this moment that Xiao Cheng's heart finally settled down. He said, Yanyan, is it okay for me to call you that? Does your family mind that you have a boyfriend now? Gu Xingyin only glanced at Xiao Cheng. I'll be 18 in a year. What do you think? Xiao Qing. Well, to be honest, he just wanted to go to his parents-in-law's house as soon as possible and settle their relationship. After talking about it, the awkwardness between the two of them seemed to have disappeared. After dinner in a pleasant atmosphere, Gu Xingyin thought of that man. She asked, by the way, you're from the capital. Do you know a person named Xiaolong? Chapter 2059. Xiaolong? Actually, Xiao Qing really knew him. But he was not sure if the Xiaolong he knew was the same person as the one Gu Xingyin talked about. If they were the same person, how could Yanyan know such a person? Gu Xingyin saw that Xiao Qing didn't speak, so she thought he didn't know him. She said, it's said that he's a gangster. If you can get in touch with him, Xiao Qing asked, do you know him? There was a hint of disgust on Gu Xingyin's face. I met him last night. Xiao Qing suddenly became nervous. Are you okay? Why didn't you tell me that you met him? He had heard of Xiaolong's reputation, and he vaguely knew that this person was cruel and fond of beauties. In a short moment, he imagined a scene of a bully flirting with a girl. Gu Xingyin shook her head to show that she was fine. I'm fine, but it seems that that person won't let it go. Xiao Qing looked cold. Don't worry, Yanyan. I'll deal with Xiaolong, don't worry, he won't pester you anymore. Did he mean that he would make Xiaolong suffer? Gu Xingyin thought that if Xiaolong took her away so early, what would happen to Su Zhiyao? She quickly stopped him. If you have the ability, ask someone to warn him and teach him a lesson. My sister, Su Zhiyao, seems to have a good relationship with him. She didn't say anything more than that. Sister? Xiao Cheng remembered the girl with coquettish makeup he met on the road earlier. It seemed that she should be the sister that Yanyan mentioned. In this way, the characters of the two sisters were really a little different. Out of concern, he still reminded her, Xiaolong is not easy to deal with. Yanyan, you can mention it to your sister. Mention it? Gu Xingyin thought that even if she reminded her sister out of kindness, Su Zhiyao would probably only think that she was jealous. She said with a cold look, there's no need to remind me. My relationship with Su Zhiyao is not as good as you think. You don't have to do anything for her. She didn't mind exposing some things in front of Xiao Cheng. They were going to be together for the rest of their lives. There were some things that didn't need to be hidden. Seeing this, Xiao Cheng felt strange, but thinking about it, there were many examples of sisters in big families who didn't get along well, so Yan Yan's attitude wasn't strange. Wasn't that girl also unhappy when he asked her questions earlier? Thinking of this, he nodded. Then I won't interfere in her matters. He vaguely sensed something in his heart, but he didn't say anything. Before knowing what had happened, no one had the right to interfere with the decisions of others. Gu Xingyin didn't know what Xiaoqing did. Anyway, from then on, the man called Xiaolong really didn't come to find Gu Xingyin. Based on Gu Xingyin's understanding of that man's vicious character, this was almost impossible. She didn't ask about Xiaoqing's family background, but Xiaoqing didn't seem to have any intention of hiding anything from her. The imperial capital, surnamed Xiao, had great power. Almost anyone with a brain would be able to connect these things together and obtain a terrifying message. So it was that family. If she guessed correctly, Xiaoqing's grandfather should be the old man who often appeared on the central news in the early years. If that was the case, it would not be strange for Xiaoqing to be able to make Xiaolong obedient. Chapter 2060. Time passed again. Gu Xingyin was admitted to the first university of the imperial capital with first place in Jisua. And Su Jiao was also admitted to an ordinary second-rate school in the imperial capital. What surprised Gu Xingyin was that Su Jiao actually got along with the man called Xiaolong for 2 years in a relationship that was neither close nor distant. And it seemed that they had real feelings for each other. Not long after Gu Xingyin entered her first year of university, it was her 19th birthday. On the day of National Day, she was dragged back to the Xiao family by Xiaoqing. According to Xiaoqing, the entire Xiao family had long known about her and had always asked Xiaoqing to bring her home to meet them. However, Xiaoqing had hidden her too well. This time, they finally met in person. When the two sides met, they had a good impression of each other. A family like the Xiao family had an excellent family upbringing. It was impossible for them to have unruly plots like those in some TV series. On the contrary, they were quite satisfied with Gu Xingyin's appearance and speech. When they heard that she was a student of the first university, their impression of her improved a lot. At the end of the semester, Gu Xingyin also brought Xiaoqing home. Their eldest daughter brought her boyfriend home. This was a very shocking thing for the Su family's parents. Mother Su was fine. Father Su was very picky about Xiaoqing, but he couldn't find any fault with Xiaoqing's behavior. As for Xiaoqing, it was only after the Su parents finally showed their approval of him that he revealed his identity. The two elders were dumbfounded. Although they were considered rich and their families had a lot of connections in the political world. But a family like the Xiao family, which truly stood at the top, was in the core circle that ordinary people had no way to set foot in. However, this wasn't what made Father Su excited. Old Master Xiao. That was his lifelong idol. Xiaoqing never thought that his grandfather was not only the umbrella of the entire Xiao family, but also played such a huge role when he met his future father-in-law. Father Su's attitude towards Xiaoqing changed 108 degrees. After dinner, he even dragged people to the study to discuss old Master Zhao's great achievements. Mama Su looked at her daughter helplessly. "That's how your father is." Gu Xingyin smiled and said nothing. No matter what, this result was something to be happy about. Although she couldn't give up on her lover no matter what her family's attitude was, getting the support of her family was the best result, wasn't it? Su Jiao's school holidays were later. When she returned home, she heard the news that her sister had found a boyfriend. Su Jiao was a little surprised. As far as she knew, Su Jian was the kind of person who only cared about learning and challenges. She was so outstanding that no boy could compare to her. Su Jiao had once viciously speculated that a woman like Su Jian would be like some doctorate professors in university, an old woman in her 30s who wore old-fashioned professional suits every day, had a house and a car, but was still an old virgin that no one cared about. When she occasionally thought of such a possibility, she even felt a little happy in her heart. So what if you're outstanding? If I don't like studying and can't get into a good school, I can still live a carefree life. In comparison, you, Su Jian, are simply a pitiful worm. Chapter 2061. But in just one semester, Su Jian had a boyfriend? Father Su and Mother Su naturally wouldn't talk about Xiaoqing's family background casually, but from their reaction, Su Jiao could see that they were satisfied with Su Jian's boyfriend. A boy who could catch Father Su's and Mother Su's eyes must be good in all aspects. Su Jiao felt unbalanced again. She always felt that Su Jian was doing it on purpose, wanting to be ahead of her in everything. However, she had never thought about the fact that she had dated countless boyfriends over the years. It wasn't that there hadn't been a man who loved her wholeheartedly, but Su Jiao was greedy for fresh excitement and finally got tired of it after a while. It was her own decision not to bring her boyfriend home. How could she blame Gu Shengyin for this? It seemed that there was a saying that was right. When you didn't like someone, no matter what they did, you could see the shadow in them with narrow-minded eyes. Su Jiao was like this when she looked at Su Jian. On this day, Gu Shengyin was reading on a wooden chair in the garden as usual. The summer in Xia City wasn't too hot, but it was definitely not friendly. Sometimes, when the sun wasn't so hot, Gu Shengyin would walk out of the air-conditioned room and sit under the vines to cool down. She thought about it carefully. On the first day she came to this world, she seemed to have sat in this place in the same posture. In the blink of an eye, such a long time had passed. Su Jian. A clear voice called her name. Gu Shengyin narrowed her eyes and looked at the person walking towards her. In the past 2 years, the relationship between the two sisters had become colder and colder, and they couldn't even be bothered to maintain the harmony on the surface. For example, they called each other by their names as if they were strangers. Su Jiao's expression didn't look too good, but she still said, "Zheng Nan and the others have a party tomorrow night. Do you want to go with us?" Zheng Nan? Gu Shengyin thought for a while and shook her head. No. She grew up with the two sisters when she was young, but after junior high school, she became estranged from Su Jian. However, she had a good relationship with Su Jiao. Both of them were famous for their playful personalities. It was easy to imagine what kind of activities they would have at their gathering. Su Jiao bit her lip. If it were her, of course, she would not be willing to invite Gu Shengyin. However, Zheng Nan also invited a few handsome men and beautiful women. Some of them heard that Su Jiao had a sister who went to the first university, so they all urged her to come over. Su Jiao was also drunk at that time. She said on the spot that her sister listened to her the most. As long as she asked, Su Jian would definitely come. As for how much he regretted after he woke up, that was a matter for the future. In short, in order not to lose face, Su Jiao straightened her neck and invited Gu Shengyin. Obviously, Gu Shengyin did not intend to give her face. "Su Jian, just do me a favor. Tell me what you want," Su Jiao said. Gu Shengyin glanced at her and snorted. "What do you think is worthy of my attention?" Su Jiao's face was livid. Gu Shengyin felt that she had not provoked her enough and continued, "Also, Su Jiao, what kind of dirty things are in your so-called gathering? Mom and Dad don't know, but don't think that I don't know." She didn't hide her disdain at all in her tone. "You have the face to invite me? Su Jiao, I find it dirty for you." Chapter 2062. Su Jiao's expression changed. She couldn't help raising her voice and looking at Gu Shengyin. "What do you mean?" She thought that she had been in the capital for the past few years, and she didn't act as ostentatiously as before. Her family was far away in Xia City, so it was impossible for them to know what she had done. Su Jian was deliberately scaring her, wasn't she? She snorted and said, "I know you look down on me, Su Jian. It's fine if you don't want to play with us, but why do you have to speak so harshly?" Harshly? Gu Shengyin seemed to have heard a joke. She suddenly stood up, approached Su Jiao, and said softly, "Do you really think that the campus hunk in your school, the man named Xiao Long, and the man in the bar called Blue every month can really hide from everyone's eyes?" She looked at Su Jiao indifferently, and her face suddenly turned pale. Gu Shengyin said, "Su Jiao, you can rest assured for the time being that Mom and Dad don't know about this, and I don't intend to tell them." Su Jiao's eyes lit up, and then she had some doubts. She didn't believe that Su Jian would be so kind. Gu Shengyin said coldly, "I'm not a saint, and the little sisterhood I have for you has long disappeared. The reason why I didn't tell Mom and Dad was that I didn't want them to be sad because of you, and I wanted to threaten you with this." Su Jiao's eyes widened because of Gu Shengyin's words. It was the first time that she had heard someone say the word threat so confidently. "What do you want?" Su Jiao's tone was much more polite because she had something on her. She knew very well that mom and dad didn't like her behavior. If they knew that she still couldn't change her style when she was in the capital, Su Zhiyao didn't want to think about what would happen to her. Maybe her angry father would directly take away the shares that he had intended to leave for her. Gu Xingyin glanced at her and said, "What I want is very simple. Don't jump around in front of me in the future, and put away that bad idea in your heart." She looked at Su Zhiyao, who seemed to be very indignant, with a mocking expression. "Don't play tricks, Su Zhiyao." She stretched out a hand and waved it gently. "When I said those words, you should have known that your life has always been under my control." Su Zhiyao suddenly raised her head and looked at her sister. The Su Jian in front of him still looked calm and gentle, innocent and harmless. Su Zhiyao thought absent-mindedly that she had always been deceived by her. She had always looked down on Su Jian. She felt that Su Jian's life was boring and she felt that Su Jian was very silly. Now that he thought about it, wasn't he the foolish one? When he went to provoke Su Jian, did she always think that he was an idiot in her heart? Su Zhiyao turned around and left silently. Gu Shengyin looked at her back and thought that if she still had some brains, she probably wouldn't bother him anymore. She was right. Su Zhiyao didn't provoke her again, nor did she lose her temper with her. From that moment on, the two sisters had truly become strangers who had never interacted with each other before. 3 years later, Gu Shengyin graduated. The elders of the Su family and the Shao family met, and the relationship between them was officially established. Chapter 2063. At the engagement party with Xiao Cheng, Gu Shengyin saw Su Zhiyao, whom she hadn't seen for a long time. She seemed to be having a good time. She was dressed very delicately, and she looked much more charming than before. The man named Gu Shengyin stood beside her in surprise. "Xiao Long, she brought Xiao Long to my wedding. Could it be that the two of them had developed from lovers to a real couple?" Gu Shengyin was a little curious. After all, whether it was Xiao Long or Su Zhiyao, neither of them had the temperament to stop for someone. It was hard to imagine what the future would be like when the two of them got together. However, she only thought about it for a moment and then gave up this idea. Not to mention what would happen to the two of them in the future, it had nothing to do with her. The increasing involvement between Su Zhiyao and Xiao Long was very much in line with her own wishes. Su Zhiyao was spoiled, and Xiao Long was surly and difficult to get along with. The two of them would probably torture each other for a long time. "What are you looking at?" Her hands were covered by a pair of warm hands, and Xiao Cheng's gentle voice appeared in her ears. Gu Shengyin was stunned for a moment, then she came back to her senses and shook her head with a smile. "Nothing." She held the hand of the man beside her. She just needed to live her own life. What did other people's lives have to do with her? After the elder daughter got engaged, the younger daughter, Su Zhiyao, also brought her boyfriend back to meet her parents. Father Su and Mother Su were not at ease when they saw Xiao Long's appearance, but Su Zhiyao insisted that she liked him, and as parents, there was nothing they could do. Su Zhiyao still beat Gu Shengyin, her elder sister, on something. For example, marriage. Xiao Long didn't have parents. Su Zhiyao, who had always been willful, got married to him almost immediately after obtaining the consent of her parents. After that, she lived in the capital with her husband for a long time. Gu Shengyin also lived in the capital, but the two sisters had never met each other. Gu Shengyin finally knew why the two of them got married. It was really ridiculous. Because after marriage, Xiao Long and Su Zhiyao still played their own games. A proper couple would actually go to a bar together. The husband was looking for a lover, and the wife was having a one-night stand. Both parties didn't seem to mind at all. What was even more outrageous was that the couple would occasionally play with others. Gu Shengyin's worldview was refreshed. In the past, she had always thought that such an unreasonable plot would only appear in porn. She had never thought that such a thing would actually happen in front of her. It was really disgusting. What was marriage to these two people? Because of this, Gu Shengyin no longer paid attention to Su Zhiyao. She told the system not to tell her anything unless something big happened to Su Zhiyao or if she wanted to harm her. Another year passed. Gu Xingyin and Xiao Cheng finally got married and became a real couple. Less than half a year after their marriage, Gu Xingyin became pregnant. After October, she gave birth to a pair of twin girls. When she was so tired that she fell asleep, Gu Xingyin seemed to hear the system say something. She opened her eyes again and found that her body had been cleaned. Her lower body was very clean and refreshing, and her husband, Xiao Cheng, was looking at the two cradles beside him and smiling. Yen Yen. Seeing her wake up, Xiao Cheng smiled with satisfaction. Thank you for making my life perfect enough. He leaned over gently and kissed the corner of her forehead. Chapter 2064. After the confinement, Gu Xingyin's body recovered well. Finally, the system reminded her of something again. It was about Su Jiao. She didn't have a good time recently. To be precise, it seemed to have started 3 months ago. There was a conflict between her and Xiao Long. The husband and wife, who were originally getting along harmoniously, began to dislike each other. After Gu Xingyin found out what kind of life the two of them had after getting married, he understood that there was no such thing as true love between the two of them. People who had feelings would never tolerate the other party's disloyalty to them. As for a man like Xiao Long, it was fine when he liked you. It could be said that he would give you whatever you wanted. But if he didn't like you, he would have 100 ways to punish you. They used to have a tacit understanding between them. But now, it had become one of Su Jiao's original sins in his eyes. Su Jiao was about to go crazy from the torture. She was locked in a dark room without any light. She was stripped naked and poured hot wax on her body. She was tied to a wooden frame with her limbs wide open and whipped with a special whip. The first time when Gu Xingyin gave birth was when she had her first emotional breakdown. The system remembered the host's reminder and was about to tell her about it. Gu Xingyin was too tired and fell asleep. When she woke up again, the system chose to hide this matter. Until her body, which was damaged by the delivery, recovered. Only then did the system tell Gu Xingyin what had happened. After another month, Su Jiao was about to go crazy from the torture. Lying on the damp bed, Su Jiao regretted it too much. She regretted more than once that she provoked Xiao Long, the devil. She was sure that this man was definitely mentally abnormal. There was no fierce conflict between them. It was just a small dispute between her and him. But later, she didn't know that her words stimulated Xiao Long. His face suddenly became ferocious. And then, Su Jiao couldn't help but tremble. She trembled when she thought about what happened after that. Xiao Long was simply a lunatic. He took pleasure in torturing her all day long. What made Su Jian despair was that she didn't have any communication tools with her. She was locked in this small room with no way to escape or contact the outside world. She was afraid that one day, she would die here without anyone knowing. There was a chance to save Gu Xingyin. As long as she called the police or asked Xiao Cheng to step in, no matter how crazy Xiao Long was, he would not disrespect the Xiao family. However, Gu Xingyin did not say anything, nor did she do anything. It was Su Jiao's own decision to choose Xiao Long. The most important thing was that when she heard about Su Jiao's fate, she would remember what happened to Su Jian in the original plot. Compared to Su Jiao, Su Jian was more innocent and pitiful. Just because of Su Jiao's selfishness, she lost her life. Perhaps in the cycle of reincarnation, Su Jiao would eventually receive retribution for what she had done. 1.5 months later, Gu Xingyin finally received the news. Su Jiao was dead. It was said that in the dark, she broke the cup she was drinking from against the wall and slit her wrist. Because it was discovered too late, she lost too much blood. It was said that the scene was quite bloody. Originally, Xiao Long wanted to destroy the corpse and the evidence, but Gu Xingyin took action at this time. She didn't intend to let Su Jiao go, let alone Xiao Long. The witness and material evidence were conclusive. This adulterous couple could continue to go to the netherworld and torture themselves. Everything was over. However, Gu Xingyin looked at her parents who had obviously aged a lot, and she felt a little guilty. The only thing she felt sorry for was this couple. She glanced at her husband beside her, and then at her parents who were not far away. She would spend the rest of her life being a good wife, a good mother, and a good daughter. This world was over. By the way, the story of this world actually had a prototype, and it was not an isolated phenomenon. Perhaps because it was close to the end, I was very anxious and felt that no matter how I wrote it, it would be wrong. I was not very satisfied with the ending of this story, but I really tried my best. Finally, to answer the question of the ending baby, in the main part of this story, there will be content of 2 worlds. After that, there will be some other worlds. Chapter 2065. It was dark all around. Gu Xingyin could not open her eyes. She could roughly sense that she seemed to be in a huge sealed space. She could not breathe, did not need to breathe, and her 5 senses were weak. She had consciousness, but it seemed to be completely bound to this body. "System," she called out. Fortunately, the system's voice sounded. "Host." Gu Xingyin breathed a sigh of relief and asked, "What's going on with this world?" As soon as she finished speaking, a message rushed into her mind. Because her consciousness was somewhat muddled, even her thinking speed slowed down. After reading the entire plot, Gu Xingyin breathed out. Strictly speaking, she was now a corpse, and the environment she was in was the tomb that the original body had built for herself a few thousand years ago. Perhaps, it would be more appropriate to describe it as a sealed place. Huang Tian, the youngest and most powerful great sage in the history of the Phoenix clan. Under her leadership, the Phoenix clan was a famous first-rate clan in the entire Tianxian continent. When the Phoenix clan's reputation was at its peak, Huang Tian suddenly foresaw an ominous future when she was offering sacrifices. 30 years later, the Phoenix clan's earth veins had a problem. Their foundation collapsed, and their ancestral land fell. This series of unforeseen events caused the entire Phoenix clan to fall from a first-rate clan to a second-rate clan in a short 10 years. They were bullied and ridiculed countless times. Huang Tian, who had devoted her life to revitalizing her clan, naturally could not stand by and do nothing. After searching through countless ancient books but to no avail, she finally made a decision. She would use herself, who had the purest bloodline and the strongest power in the entire Phoenix clan, as a guide to suppress the Phoenix clan's earth veins. What level had Huang Tian's cultivation reached? In the Tianxian continent, cultivation of profound qi was the main focus. The realms were divided into profound practitioner, profound master, profound king, profound ancestor, profound venerable, and profound sage. There was also the legendary profound god realm, which could live as long as the heavens and earth. And Huang Tian had already taken that step. If the change in the earth veins had come a few hundred years later, she would have completely entered the profound god realm and would not have to be afraid of this problem. Unfortunately, the timing was too coincidental. She could only use the array as a guide and seal herself within it to suppress the Phoenix clan's earth veins. Now, 1,000 years had passed. The great calamity of the Phoenix clan had already been forcefully suppressed by Huang Tian. The Phoenix clan was still a famous first-rate clan in the Tianxian land. Huang Tian's resting place had always been the sacred ground of the Phoenix clan. No one had ever thought that this great sage who had once done so much for the Phoenix clan had not truly died. If nothing unexpected happened, Huang Tian might continue to sleep in this sealed place for another 1,000 years. Until a grave robber broke the silence. That female mysterious sect called Qin Xiaoxiao in this world is a professional tomb robber who makes a living by robbing tombs. Her code name was Yi Sha, and she was considered to be one of the most famous people in the profound sky continent. Moreover, she had a habit of not falling unless it was a large tomb. She would not patronize ordinary tombs at all. The target she chose this time was the sacred ground of the Phoenix clan. It could be said that he was quite bold. For such a large clan, it would be a great humiliation if their sacred ground was stolen. At that time, Qin Xiaoxiao would definitely face the full pursuit of the entire Phoenix clan. Chapter 2066. However, Qin Xiaoxiao was already wanted by several clans. Perhaps it was because she had too many debts to bear. To her, one more or one less made no difference. Yi Sha was not short of money. She only enjoyed the pleasure of personally lifting the veil of the great tomb, as well as the feeling of superiority when she angered those great clans and watched them be helpless. She found Huang Tian's tomb. The restrictions and arrays of the tomb had long lost their effect under the erosion of time. Chen Xiaoxiao did not encounter any danger along the way. She also found Huang Tian lying in a 10,000-year-old ice coffin, whose face had not changed for thousands of years. She was immediately astonished and wanted to take the coffin out with her. She did not know where she touched, but just like that, the weak seal on Huang Tian's body was broken. Huang Tian woke up. Thousands of years of sleep had made her mind very messy, and her limbs had deteriorated to the point that she could barely move. She instinctively wanted to attack this outsider. Chen Xiaoxiao could be considered to have narrowly escaped death. Although this zombie in front of her could not move, she was not easy to deal with. She did not know what cultivation level she had been when she was alive, but her attack could not even hurt her. Chen Xiaoxiao, who had almost fallen into despair, suddenly remembered the cultivation method she had been practicing when she was young. She had to try everything she could. She did not know what kind of luck she had encountered, but Chen Xiaoxiao had succeeded. She, a profound ancestor, had relied on a secret method to absorb more than half of the cultivation of a half-step divine spirit realm expert above the profound sage realm. Huang Tian did not die because of her cultivation level that was close to that of a god. Once this was lost, the power of time showed. Chen Xiaoxiao watched as this peerless beauty turned into a shriveled old woman in front of her. Then she turned into a pile of bones and finally turned into ashes. Only a long robe made of an unknown material was left on the ground. As for her, she had almost died from the explosion of her cultivation base. But she had almost died. After all, she had not died. Not only had she not died, but she had also benefited from this disaster. She had spent 20 years refining Huang Tian's power and broke through from the profound ancestor realm to the profound sage realm. A profound sage was already the strongest expert in the entire profound sky continent. The first thing Chen Xiaoxiao did after she succeeded was to take revenge. He wanted to take revenge on those families that had once hunted him down and injured him. The Phoenix clan was naturally among them. His cultivation had been absorbed by someone else and used to harm the family he had protected with all his heart. Even if he died, Huang Tian would not die in peace. Gu Xingyin came back to her senses. A tear fell from the corner of her tightly shut eyes. This was Huang Tian's emotion. Huang Tian's stubbornness vanished along with the teardrop. The one who stayed behind was Gu Xingyin, her replacement. "Can I wake up earlier?" Gu Xingyin asked. If Huang Tian could wake up earlier and adapt to his new body, then even Chen Xiaoxiao would only be sending herself to death. The system's white light flashed. "That depends on your ability, host." In fact, Gu Xingyin's arrival in this world was already considered a cheat. The reason why Huang Tian could not wake up was not only because no one had broken the seal here, but also because thousands of years of sleep had caused Huang Tian's consciousness to be in a state of disorientation. Gu Xingyin's arrival had directly skipped this step. What she needed to do now was to break the seal before Chen Xiaoxiao arrived. "Today is a visit from relatives, so I can't stay up late. 5 chapters, tomorrow 7 chapters, huh? Good night, everyone." In addition, the V group and welfare group will stop joining at 12 p.m. tonight. Red packets will be given out tomorrow at noon. If you have enough fan points, remember to join the group and receive red packets. Chapter 2067. System. Draw skills. Gu Xingyin was speechless. She was speechless when she saw the results. She knew that most of the skills were useless. For example, the improved affinity halo that came from the Elven Queen. Effect: increase the initial favorability of others by 30%. In short, it was very useful when it came to face recognition. But what was the use of this for Huang Tian? The system even comforted her. "Don't be upset. With the abilities of the female lead in this world, she doesn't need any assistance." She was someone who stood at the top of the world. Thinking about it, that was indeed the case. Now, There were only 2 months left until Chen Xiaoxiao arrived at this sealed land. In these 2 months, she had to find a way to completely break the seal and gain control of this body. Gu Xingyin immediately closed her eyes. Her body was very heavy. Although her consciousness was clear, the power of her soul was extremely scattered. It was as if there was no way to gather it together. She had no control over her body at all. In this situation, she couldn't even open her eyes, let alone break the seal. Gu Xingyin gritted her teeth. She could only rely on her powerful soul power to forcibly gather the power of her soul that had been scattered for thousands of years. This process was very uncomfortable. Almost every time she moved those souls, Gu Xingyin's mind would spin for a long time. Fortunately, this body couldn't move at all. Otherwise, Gu Xingyin was really worried that she would vomit. Time passed slowly in this situation. In the beginning, Gu Xingyin could occasionally chat with the system and observe the progress of the process. Later, she grasped some tricks and became more and more proficient in gathering the scattered souls. Gradually, her entire body and mind were immersed in it. At a certain place far away, a woman with sharp and ruthless eyes had already set her sights on this region. I heard that the Phoenix clan has a sacred land that no one except the core members can enter. The woman stuck out her tongue and licked her bright red lips. She smiled seductively. I want to see what treasures are in this sacred land. Success. Gu Xingyin was overjoyed. At the same time, in the ice coffin in the holy land of the Phoenix clan, the corpse that had been sleeping quietly for thousands of years suddenly opened its eyes. Gu Xingyin saw her surroundings for the first time. It wasn't as dark and gloomy as she had imagined. On the contrary, it was rather bright. Because she was lying down, Gu Xingyin could only see several large luminous pearls embedded in the high dome. Rather than a graveyard, it looked more like a magnificent palace. Gu Xingyin sensed that her body was very stiff at the moment. Just as she was about to move, a faint sound came from beside her. At the same time, a system notification sounded, "Host, you're awake? This world's mission target has appeared." 2 months had passed. Before he could speak to the system, the door to this gorgeous tomb that had not been touched by anyone for thousands of years suddenly opened. Chen Xiaoxiao, dressed in black, appeared at the entrance of the tomb. Her eyes widened in shock. This is actually not a sacred land. Rather, it is the treasure vault of the Phoenix clan, right? She looked around with great interest and her gaze was attracted by something on the high platform. Chapter 2068. It was a square-shaped container. She could not tell what material it was made of. From afar, it looked transparent. However, she could not see what was inside. Intuition told Chen Xiaoxiao that the thing inside should be the core of this sacred place. This intuition had allowed Chen Xiaoxiao to obtain countless treasures. It had also allowed her to avoid fatal pursuits many times. She secretly operated the profound qi inside her body and let it circulate through her entire body. Step by step, she approached that high platform. She knew that the square-shaped container was imprinted in her eyes. Hiss! Chen Xiaoxiao drew in a breath of cold air. This was clearly a coffin. Chen Xiaoxiao's gaze was completely attracted by the figure inside the coffin. She believed that she had traveled all over the Tianxian land for so many years. Yet, she had never seen a person with such grace as the one before her. Regardless of gender, the woman lying inside the coffin wore a silver-white long robe. On it, a phoenix and cloud pattern were embroidered with silk threads of the same color. Even until now, the Phoenix clan's usual clothes were embroidered with these two patterns. Chen Xiaoxiao's attention fell on that face. Even with her mental state of the Xian sect, her mind could not help but waver. Too beautiful. Her facial features, her brows and eyes, not a single part of it was not meticulously drawn. Every detail was perfect. However, the most moving thing about the woman before her was not her beauty, but her grace. The beauty of a person's appearance was in the form. Although it could make people sigh in admiration, it could not make people shocked. However, the woman in front of him was simply lying down, but she gave him the illusion that her body was glowing. He couldn't help but have the urge to worship her. Chen Xiaoxiao could not help but wonder how such a person looked like when she was alive. Looking at her clothing, this person did not seem to be from this era. Could it be that she was one of the ancestors of the Phoenix clan? As she thought about it, her hands unconsciously landed on that cold ice coffin. A bold thought emerged in her mind. If she took away the corpse of this ancestor of the Phoenix clan and claimed it as her own, those arrogant fellows of the Phoenix clan would most likely go crazy, right? Chen Xiaoxiao, who was immersed in her fantasy, did not realize that from the moment her hand touched the cold ice coffin, the ice that should have been immortal for tens of thousands of years started to crack bit by bit. Crack! Chen Xiaoxiao suddenly came back to her senses. After realizing what had happened, she raised her speed to the limit and retreated rapidly. At the same time, the large ice coffins exploded one after another. Chen Xiaoxiao suddenly felt a great sense of panic. It felt as if she was being stared at by an extremely terrifying ferocious beast. If he didn't leave, he would die. She suddenly had such a clear understanding. Be decisive. Chen Xiaoxiao didn't say a word and shot out of the sacred grounds. However, her movements came to a halt in midair. There seemed to be an invisible wall in front of her, blocking her movements. Not only that, Chen Xiaoxiao also noticed that the composition of the air seemed to have changed. An invisible energy surrounded her. In this kind of environment, the profound energy in her body was like ice and snow meeting the scorching sun, and was rapidly melting away at a terrifying speed. The situation was very bad. A word fell heavily on her heart. Domain. Chapter 2069. Apart from a domain, what else could have such power? Could it be that the Phoenix clan was so abnormal that they actually sent a profound sage powerhouse to protect their holy land? A domain was the symbol of a profound sage powerhouse. The domain of a profound sage powerhouse was within their absolute control. Within a domain, the owner of the domain was the absolute ruler. Chen Xiaoxiao clenched her teeth and turned around. The scene in front of her caused her to break out in cold sweat. At this moment, the ice coffin had already disappeared. In its place was a figure standing there. Chen Xiaoxiao was not unfamiliar with this figure at all. Because not long ago, she had looked at her condescendingly and sighed at her rare beauty. At that time, Chen Xiaoxiao had still secretly felt that it was a pity. Who knew how magnificent such a person would be when she opened her eyes? But at this moment, when she truly saw her, she was not in the mood to marvel at her beauty. Killing intent. Chen Xiaoxiao could clearly feel the killing intent coming from the profound sage powerhouse opposite her. Chen Xiaoxiao was filled with regret. If she had known that there was a profound sage powerhouse lying in the holy land of the Phoenix clan, even if she was given 100 guts, she would never have dared to come. Her mind spun rapidly, thinking about how to obtain a chance of survival in such a situation. But reality did not give her much chance to react. Chen Xiaoxiao looked at the profound sage powerhouse who was so beautiful that she did not seem like a mortal. She stretched out her hand, and a huge palm shadow quickly condensed behind her. A terrifying pressure directly pressed down on her. Before Chen Xiaoxiao could escape, the huge palm swiftly and violently slapped down on her. She could not avoid it. Chen Xiaoxiao closed her eyes in despair. Gu Shengyin indifferently looked at the bold grave robber who had lost his life in her hands. After confirming that the system had reminded her that the target had died, her body suddenly trembled. Her expression changed, and she seemed to be unable to bear something. She struggled to support herself on the high platform behind her to prevent herself from collapsing. He had just broken through the seal and had to use such a powerful cultivation technique. For this stiff body of his, the pressure was still too much. After resting for a while, Gu Shengyin stretched out her hand and moved a praying mat over, then slowly sat down. She knew that it wouldn't be long before someone came looking for her. If the Huang clan was unable to detect such a huge change in the clan's sacred ground, then there was nothing for Huang Tian to be reluctant to leave such an idiot clan. In fact, the people of the Phoenix clan had arrived earlier than Gu Shengyin had expected. Furthermore, The people who came were all important figures of the Phoenix clan. Gu Shengyin looked at the members of the Phoenix clan who were wearing black robes with golden embroidery. She combined them with her memories of Huang Tian and came to a conclusion. Yes, after a few thousand years, the aesthetics of the Tianshan land had changed greatly. Her expression was as indifferent as ever. Even when she saw so many people suddenly appear in front of her, her eyelids didn't even twitch. The members of the Phoenix clan were not as indifferent. They carefully looked at the white-robed woman sitting on the futon in front of them. Although the other party did not deliberately show off his power, they still felt a sense of suffocation. These people were all direct descendants of the Phoenix clan. During the sacrificial ceremony, many people came here before. The person in front of him. Chapter 2070. An old man who seemed to be the leader of the group stepped forward and bowed respectfully to Gu Shengyin before he began to speak. I am Elder Huang Yuan of the Phoenix clan. May I know who you are? He was actually quite hesitant in his heart. As an elder of the clan, he knew the secrets of the clan's sacred land. He also knew that there was once an outstanding ancestor who used his own flesh and blood to suppress the ancestral land in exchange for thousands of years of prosperity for the Phoenix clan. Whether it was in terms of attire or aura, the person in front of him was very similar to the one in the rumors. However, this kind of thing, Gu Shengyin raised her head and glanced at him, then said lightly, My name is Huang Tian. My name is Huang Tian? My name is Huang Tian. The others did not know that Elder Huang Yuan's legs almost went soft when he heard this. In the entire Phoenix clan's genealogy, there was only one person named Huang Tian. Could this person really be that legendary ancestor? However, this was a matter of great importance. He could only respectfully wait for the person in front of him, then crush a sparkling and translucent crescent-shaped talisman pendant in his sleeve. Ancestor Huang He, there has been an unforeseen event in the sacred land. A powerhouse in white has appeared, and he calls himself Huang Tian. This crescent-shaped talisman pendant was personally made by ancestor Huang He, who had the highest seniority and the strongest cultivation in the Phoenix clan. Every elder above the mystique venerable rank and core disciple with the highest potential in the clan could hold one. As long as one crushed this talisman pendant, Ancestor Huang He would be able to sense it immediately and rush over as quickly as possible. Elder Huang Yuan had notified Ancestor Huang He because he was the ancestor with the highest seniority and the strongest cultivation in the entire Phoenix clan. The sacred land matter was of great importance, so it was only right to inform the ancestor. Secondly, Ancestor Huang He was also the one with the longest lifespan in the entire Phoenix clan. He could be considered to be from the same generation as the legendary ancestor Huang Tian. Huang Yuan could not be sure whether the white-robed woman's words were true or false, so he naturally needed to find a powerhouse who could confirm her identity. Ancestor Huang He arrived very quickly. Gu Shengyin saw Elder Huang Yuan's actions clearly. She didn't feel that she had been neglected. Instead, she felt gratified by Elder Huang Yuan's vigilance. Gu Shengyin would be disappointed if Huang Yuan believed her just because she said that she was the old ancestor of her family. A green figure appeared at the entrance of the Holy Land. It was a middle-aged man who looked to be in his 30s. His eyes were calm and carried a trace of coldness. Seeing this middle-aged man, all the members of the Phoenix clan bowed and greeted him. Greetings, Patriarch. The green-robed man's gaze was not on them at all. He stared at Gu Shengyin and calmly looked back at her face. His eyes flashed with disbelief, shock, and excitement. Aunt Huang, is it really you? His voice seemed to be trembling. If one listened carefully, there seemed to be a slight tremor in his voice. However, the rest of the Phoenix clansmen didn't have the mood to pay attention to their ancestor's voice. They were all shocked by the content of their ancestor's words. And Huang Tian? After all, thousands of years had passed, and some of the clansmen did not even know the name Huang Tian. However, everyone had heard their own ancestor call her Aunt loud and clear. At that moment, countless shocked gazes turned to Gu Shengyin. Ancestor Huang He's aunt. How many years had this white-robed powerhouse lived? Chapter 2071. Gu Xingyin furrowed her brows. She scrutinized the middle-aged man in front of her. After a long while, she finally thought of a person related to this person in front of her from the chaotic memories of her original body. She hesitantly called out, "Xiao He?" The middle-aged man looked happy and said, "It's Xiao He, auntie." Gu Xingyin, the Huang He in Huang Tian's chaotic memories, was only a 4 or 5-year-old child. He was the youngest son of Huang Tian's elder brother. She vaguely remembered that the child liked to stick to her. She couldn't remember anything else. Furthermore, it was really difficult to connect the child with the middle-aged man in front of her, who looked a lot older than her. Not to mention that Gu Xingyin didn't like it. The other members of the Huang clan who were respectfully standing to the side were already stunned. Xiao He? So Elder Huang He had such a cute nickname. Huang He didn't have the mood to care about the clansmen behind him. He still remembered that when he was young, he admired this extremely talented aunt of his the most. Not only him, but all the juniors and young people of the Phoenix clan had taken great sage Huang Tian as their goal to work hard for their entire lives. However, before they could grow up, the legendary great sage of the clan disappeared overnight. He had asked his father, who was the clan leader at the time, about this, but his father only patted his head and sighed. Later on, his exceptional talent was discovered. He slowly grew up and became an elder of the Huang clan. It was only after he became an elder that he learned the secrets that ordinary clansmen didn't know. It turned out that his amazing aunt didn't disappear for no reason. Instead, she sealed her physical body and suppressed the earth veins for the entire Huang clan. The name Huang Tian was also enshrined in the ancestral hall of the Huang clan. Only those who had made great contributions to the Huang clan were qualified to be enshrined there. He had never thought that his aunt would wake up one day. Huang Tian was respectfully welcomed back into the residence by ancestor Huang He. The direct descendants of the Huang clan who saw this scene were also warned not to leak this matter. The ancestor from thousands of years ago had awakened, and her realm was above that of a profound sage. Her return would allow the overall strength of the Phoenix clan to rise by a large margin. Those clansmen knew the severity of the situation, so naturally, they didn't dare to speak of it lightly. As for Huang Tian, he was in the Phoenix clan's meeting hall, meeting with many of his juniors. All the elders of the Phoenix clan who were mystique venerable rank and above, as well as the few most talented disciples of the younger generation, had all come to visit her. To be honest, when he woke up and saw so many juniors, his mood was a little strange. Especially those juniors, they all looked at you as if you were a legend and a martyr. Gu Xingyin maintained her cold attitude as she greeted everyone, indicating that she had already met them. Then she glanced at Huang He, who was the only person she was familiar with. Huang He nodded and allowed them to leave. As the ancestor with the highest seniority and strongest strength in the Phoenix clan, Huang He's words held absolute weight. Seeing that everyone had left, Gu Xingyin relaxed. "Find me a secret room. I want to go into seclusion." Huang He was shocked. "Auntie, are you all right?" Gu Xingyin shook her head. "I've been asleep for too long. My strength has greatly decreased. I need to go into seclusion to sort things out." Chapter 2072. As Huang Tian's aunt's fan, Patriarch Huang He naturally prepared everything she needed at lightning speed. Gu Xingyin heaved a sigh of relief and began her secluded cultivation. She woke up again under the system's notification. "Host, the situation has changed. The mission target is not dead." The system's voice seemed to be surprised. Gu Xingyin frowned. "What's the situation?" Her thunderous attack that day was not something a mysterious sect master like Qin Xiaoxiao could resist even if her strength was greatly reduced. Moreover, based on her aura, Qin Xiaoxiao could not be more dead. The system replied that Qin Xiaoxiao seems to have cultivated some kind of secret technique. As long as her flesh is not destroyed, there is a chance for her to be resurrected. Flesh is not destroyed? Gu Xingyin had only killed her back then. Chen Xiaoxiao's blood must not have disappeared. Could it be that she had survived because of this? A trace of disgust flashed across Gu Xingyin's heart. This obviously illogical method was definitely not a proper technique. That Chen Xiaoxiao most likely cultivated some kind of evil technique. With Chen Xiaoxiao's vengeful personality, she would definitely come back to take revenge on the Phoenix clan when she became stronger. Gu Xingyin's eyes turned cold. Then I will kill her again. So what if she was not dead? As a demigod, she had seized the initiative. Could it be that a mere mysterious sect master was afraid of her? Gu Xingyin stood up. She was fine now, but there was a feeling of sluggishness in the circulation of the qi in her body. She knew the reason. It was because she had slept for too long that her meridians and bones had degenerated to a certain extent. In this situation, she could either slowly recover with time, or she needed the help of some natural treasures. The former would take too much time. As for the latter, Gu Xingyin had already found a good place. She went to find Patriarch Huanghe. You are going out? Patriarch Huanghe was very surprised. Gu Xingyin nodded. I want to see how thousands of years have passed. What has become of the profound sky continent? She did not talk about her body. Firstly, there were some things that were not suitable for others to know. Huang He seemed to be gentle with her, but after all, they had been separated for thousands of years. She still had to be careful. Secondly, she didn't want him to worry. Huang He was obviously reluctant to part with her, but when he saw Gu Xingyin's expression, he did not say anything. In that case, when Aunt returns, our Phoenix clan will hold another grand celebration to welcome Aunt's return. Elder Huang He's expression was somewhat excited. He wanted to announce to the entire Tianxian land that the legendary figure from thousands of years ago, the great sage Huang Tian of the Phoenix clan, had returned. The addition of another profound sage to the Phoenix clan would undoubtedly set off a storm among the first-rate families. The Phoenix clan had kept a low profile for far too long. Gu Xingyin could roughly guess what he was thinking and had no intention of rejecting him. This was beneficial to the Phoenix clan. As for Huang Tian himself, he had spent his entire life fighting for the betterment of the Huang clan. She would not give up her dream. Late at night, within the mansion of the Phoenix clan, a white figure quietly left. Those who knew of Huang Tian's existence thought that she was still in seclusion, let alone those who did not. Therefore, other than Huang He, no one else knew about her formation this time. Gu Xingyin's goal was simple, to go to the extreme south and find the vermilion bird fire to refine her body. At the same time, she would kill Chen Xiaoxiao, who was hiding in the south. Chapter 2073. At the same time, in the southern region of the Tianxian continent, in an inconspicuous little town, Chen Xiaoxiao, dressed in a simple gray robe, had dressed herself up. Her face was pale, and it was obvious that she had suffered serious internal injuries. Gu Xingyin's attack was real, and although she was reborn with the help of a secret technique, the injuries on her body could not be healed overnight. The Huang clan, and that woman. Chen Xiaoxiao sat on a stone bench, her face full of murderous intent. Just you wait. If I have the chance, I will definitely uproot all of you. She was still talking tough here, but she didn't know that there was already someone who wanted to kill her. This place was already far away from the territory of the Huang clan and was within the sphere of influence of another family, the Xian clan. Gu Xingyin was wearing a cloak, and when others looked at her, they only felt that her figure was beautiful and moving, but they could not see her face clearly at all. A person who dared to travel alone usually had some strength, so these days, there were not so many blind people who dared to have any ideas about her. Have you heard? The ancient Black Fox clan, who has always had a good relationship with the Xian clan, will send a representative to the Xian clan. Is there anyone in West Wind City who doesn't know about this? The previous person seemed to feel embarrassed and said, then let me tell you something else, you probably don't know about it. What is it? You haven't heard, it is said that the young miss of the Huang clan, Huang Bing, is infatuated with the beauty of the ancient Black Fox clan leader, Qin Yao. This time, she chased him directly to our West Wind City, and will not give up until she achieves her goal. Gu Xingyin raised her eyebrows. How did the Huang clan get involved again? She had heard Huang He mention this Huang Bing before, and she was one of the most talented people among the younger generation of the Huang clan. It was said that she had been traveling outside. It turned out that he had traveled all the way here. Gu Xingyin, who was not interested in this, decided to make a trip to the Xian clan. She wasn't interested in this, but it was related to Huang Bing. Who knew what would happen when the time came? She had interacted with the ancient Black Fox clan before. If one were to use a phrase to describe this race, it would be, their faces were bright like the moon, but their hearts were cold like ice. The ancient Sky Fox clan, without exception, had a beautiful face. It was said that the purer the bloodline, the more beautiful the face. It was imaginable that the clan leader Qin Yao must have a face that could turn the world upside down. If that was the case, it was understandable that a young lady like Huang Bing would be infatuated with him. However, the beauty of this race was equal to their coldness. They had the most gentle and deceiving smiles in the world, but they would often only bring the people who were infatuated with them an illusory dream, and then mercilessly withdraw. Huang Tian had seen countless humans who were tempted by this race, but he had never seen anyone succeed. It was still unknown whether the ancient Black Fox had a heart or not. She quietly listened to the people beside her. It seemed that the Xian clan had made preparations. The guests from the ancient Sky Fox clan would arrive at dusk. Gu Xingyin closed her eyes and felt for a moment. As expected, she sensed a familiar bloodline aura from a certain direction. Thinking about it, Miss Huang Bing should be in that place. Gu Xingyin finished the remaining wine in his cup and placed some silver pieces on the table. Then he disappeared from where he was. Chapter 2074. The white-robed figure shuttled through West Wind City at an extremely strange speed. She did not conceal her whereabouts, but when she passed by people, it was as if they did not see her at all and did not even look at her. Gu Xingyin's figure stopped in front of a majestic and solemn mansion. The bloodline reaction from Huang Bing had appeared here. She frowned imperceptibly and raised her head to look at the two words, profound mansion. Huang Bing was in the Xian clan? What those people said was true. But with her identity as the young miss of the Huang clan, it was normal for her to be received by the Xian clan. Gu Xingyin's mind moved and she quietly entered the courtyard walls of the Xian clan. With her current concealment ability, as long as she did not make a move and did not touch any restrictions, there were not many people in the Tianxian continent who could discover her. Gu Xingyin planned to meet this young Miss Huang Bing. Her footsteps seemed slow, but her speed was not slow at all as she shuttled through the mansion. A few figures walked over from the front. Judging from their attire, they should be the maids of the profound mansion. That young Miss Huang Bing is even more ostentatious than our young miss. Yes, she is a guest of our profound mansion. I have never seen someone who does not treat herself as an outsider. The two maids giggled as they spoke. One of them said, that young Miss Huang Bing really thinks that no one knows what she is here for. She said she is here as a guest of the Xian clan, but who in West Wind City does not know who she is here for? The other one said, yes. No matter what, the Phoenix clan is also a big and famous clan. How could the upbringing of the clan turn out to be like this? Who knows? The conversation gradually faded away. Gu Xingyin walked out from behind the big tree with a gloomy expression. Huang Bing was the young miss of the Huang clan's direct line of descent and a mystic king-level cultivator herself. But a few mere servants of the Xian clan dared to talk about her so disdainfully in private? Servant Xiao Zhu. One could imagine that the people of the Xian family didn't think highly of Huang Bing. He wondered if Huang Bing herself knew that she wasn't welcomed here. Gu Xingyin followed the guidance of her bloodline and walked straight into a courtyard. This was Huang Bing's courtyard. At a rough glance, there were pavilions, terraces, and pavilions as well as carved beams and painted pillars. At least in terms of face, the Xian family didn't give them any face at all. Gu Xingyin strolled into the courtyard. Huang Bing walked out of the inner room. She was wearing a light blue gauze dress. She turned around and smiled at the maid beside her. What do you think of my clothes? The two maidservants hurriedly smiled and nodded. Young Miss Huang Bing is very beautiful. This dress is very suitable for you. In all fairness, what he said wasn't wrong. Huang Bing was very beautiful. For a large clan like the Phoenix clan that had lasted for close to 10,000 years, generations after generations of outstanding bloodlines had been united. Until now, it was really difficult to find someone with an indecent appearance in the entire direct line of descent of the clan. But Huang Bing didn't seem very happy when she heard the words of the two maids. She frowned, turned around and went back into the inner room. When her figure disappeared, the two maids breathed a sigh of relief. Gu Xingyin easily saw the helplessness and disdain in their eyes. Chapter 2075. In the Tianxian continent, martial prowess was revered, and family background was also very important. A young martial artist like Huang Bing, who had outstanding talent and a powerful family, should be respected and worshipped wherever she went. Unfortunately, everyone knew that she was unrequited in love with the leader of the ancient Black Fox clan. Everyone knew that she was willing to do anything for love. This was the way of the world. Those ordinary people, on one hand, were envious of Huang Bing, the god's favored one, but on the other hand, they were secretly jealous of her. Now that they knew that the proud daughter of the heavens had actually disregarded her status and lowered herself for a man from another race, these people couldn't help but feel a sense of resentment towards her failure to meet their expectations. It was as if what Huang Bing had done was unforgivable. But in reality, what did Huang Bing have to do with them? These people were just trying to satisfy their misconception that they were better than Huang Bing in some aspects. Therefore, they subconsciously ostracized and despised her in their hearts, as if this would make them look noble. Such a person, most likely, she did not have the ability and could only find comfort on her own. Gu Xingyin had no intention of getting angry with these people. She moved slightly and directly entered Huang Bing's inner room. Although the mentality of these servant girls was ridiculous, but Gu Xingyin did not think much of Huang Bing's actions. If you really like someone, you should pursue them openly. No one would say anything about that. But could it be that the Huang clan could not even afford a courtyard in West Wind City? Did they have to make such a big fuss and let everyone in West Wind City know about it, and still have to stay in another clan? Huang Bing had just finished changing into another set of clothes. This time, it was a light yellow gauze dress. The light and lively color made her look very bright and beautiful. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded by her ear. Huang Bing! Huang Bing suddenly raised her head, and the profound qi in her body instantly reached its peak. She turned her head to look at the cloaked person who had appeared in the room without her knowing, her expression full of wariness. Who are you? Gu Xingyin saw that she did not seem to have any order, but was actually able to attack and defend, and the dissatisfaction in her heart subsided a little. Although she was a little confused in some aspects, at least she did not slack off in terms of cultivation. She didn't say anything and just threw out a token. Huang Bing subconsciously took it. When she saw the words on the token, she trembled. Ancestral Phoenix Token. In the entire Phoenix clan, there were no more than 5 ancestral Phoenix tokens. What Huang Bing knew was that the clan leader and the great elder each had one. He didn't know anything else. However, she knew the rules of the Phoenix clan. Holding the ancestral Phoenix token was equivalent to meeting the patriarch. All members of the Phoenix clan had to fully cooperate with the orders. She didn't know that the ancestral Phoenix token in Gu Xingyin's hand was given to her by Patriarch Huang He so that it would be easier for her to do things outside. Huang Bing immediately said respectfully, "This is..." She glanced at Gu Xingyin's figure, whose appearance could not be seen at all, and lowered her head. "What can I do for you?" Gu Xingyin glanced at her and said indifferently, "There are no orders. I just came to see what Miss Huang Bing, who is being talked about by the entire West Wind City, looks like." Her voice was clear and cold, and for some reason, it reminded people of the bleak autumn wind blowing past. There was no imposing aura, but it carried a chill that seeped into the bones. It was a female voice. Huang Bing was taken aback for a moment, and then realized what the other party had said. Chapter 2076. Senior, what do you mean by that? She asked in confusion. Gu Shengyin was also taken aback. She took a closer look at Huang Bing and found that she was not faking it. She didn't know anything? Thinking of a certain possibility, Gu Shengyin's expression under the cloak turned ugly. She waved her sleeve and several scenes appeared in front of Huang Bing's eyes. It was the conversation of the strangers in the restaurant and the conversation of the Xian clan's servant girls. Huang Bing's face was pale. Seeing her like this, Gu Shengyin was sure of her guess. This girl was most likely tricked by someone. As expected, Huang Bing opened her eyes wide and explained, I have never told anyone about this, and I am not so shameless as to chase after someone. She was clearly at a loss. Gu Shengyin only said coldly, Are you sure you have never mentioned it? Then how did someone find out? Think about it carefully. Huang Bing was stunned, and Gu Shengyin's figure slowly disappeared. You have good potential, but you don't know how to open your eyes. Someone is plotting against you behind the scenes. Think about it carefully. Senior? Huang Bing came back to her senses and called out, but the cloaked person had already disappeared. She slowly walked to the table and sat down, and began to organize the things she had discovered recently. She had only told her best friend, Xian Jing, that she liked clan leader Qin Yao. During this period of time, she had just broken through a small realm, and she had not planned to come. It was Xian Jing who insisted that since she really liked him, why not work hard? She also told her that clan leader Qin Yao had returned to the Xian clan. She was moved by her words and came to West Wind City. Then, it was Xian Jing who ignored her refusal and personally brought her to the Xian Palace. She repeatedly said that if she treated her as an outsider, she would be angry. Huang Bing was touched by Xian Jing's warm attitude and thought that the other party truly treated her as a friend. If she acted unnaturally, it would make her unhappy, so she tried her best to appear very natural. She had always thought that she was happy in the Xian Palace and that everyone was very warm. But now, someone had torn apart the veil and laid it out in front of her. So, in the eyes of outsiders, and even in the eyes of the servants of the profound palace, he was actually this kind of person? She only felt a chill in her heart. After Gu Shengyin told Huang Bing about what had happened, she decided to ignore her. She was already so old. If she couldn't see such an obvious thing, then such a stupid person would be useless even if she cultivated to the profound sage realm. He was being used by people with ulterior motives. She had originally intended to leave the profound palace directly, but she heard a clamor in front of her. It turned out that the emissary of the ancient Sky Fox clan had actually arrived at the profound palace at this moment. Gu Shengyin heard the gasps coming from the front and the whispered discussions of the servant girls. It was rare for her to be curious. I heard that clan leader Qin Yao has also come. I wonder what kind of beauty he is? With that thought in mind, she stopped herself from leaving. She hid herself in a big tree and used the advantage of a high vantage point to observe the situation in front of her. With just a glance, she saw the black-robed man surrounded by countless people. Some people really, no matter what kind of environment they were in, no matter how many people were around them. When others looked over, they would only see his silhouette. Because at that moment, everyone else was reduced to a foil to serve as a contrast to him. Chapter 2077. It was also the first time that Gu Shengyin saw someone who could wear such a serious black robe in such a flirtatious manner. Maybe it was because his eyes and brows were too alluring and his temperament too feminine. No matter how serious the robe was, when he wore it, he could only give people the feeling that he was tempted under the surface of abstinence. Gu Shengyin secretly glared at him. Why did he have to be so attractive? Why did he have so many love affairs for no reason? Yes, Gu Shengyin recognized this person at first sight. Before this, she did not expect that she would meet her lover under such circumstances. Thinking of her junior who had been separated by God knows how many years, Gu Shengyin sighed in her heart. It was no wonder that such an inexperienced young girl could not resist the charm of such an old demon. It was normal. Looking around the scene, at least half of the women present, whether it was the young ladies of the Xian family or the maidservants, quietly fixed their eyes on this man. As for the other half of the women, they were either old women, young girls who had not yet learned their lesson, or beautiful women who had already married. Gu Shengyin did not know if it was an illusion, but she felt that when Qin Yao was talking just now, his eyes seemed to have glanced in the direction where she was hiding. Gu Shengyin thought it was impossible. But thinking about it carefully, the ancient black fox family was the top demonic beasts with a long lifespan, especially the pure-blooded ones. It was unknown how long this Qin Yao had lived. In addition, these top demonic beasts had powerful bloodlines, so it was not strange that there was a strong man in the demigod realm. However, if he pretended not to see it, Gu Shengyin would not be bothered. While she was thinking, Leng Bu saw the junior of her family come out. Huang Bing was still very beautiful, at least in Gu Shengyin's eyes. Among the people she saw after she woke up, the average appearance of the Huang family was better than that of the Xian family. Qin Yao clan leader. Junior is Huang Bing of the Huang clan. She tried her best to maintain a calm expression, but upon closer inspection, one could still see the excitement hidden underneath. Among the direct descendants of the Xian clan, a woman in a white robe curled her lips into a sinister smile when she saw this scene. Qin Yao had probably heard some rumors on the way here. When he heard Huang Bing's words, he looked at her carefully and nodded with a faint smile. He was born with a pair of charming peach blossom eyes. Even if he didn't do anything, when he looked at people, he would have a certain degree of tenderness. Huang Bing instantly blushed under his gaze. Many people had a knowing look in their eyes. The ancient silver foxes who followed Qin Yao here also showed a look of understanding on their faces. Another human who was captivated by the beauty of their leader. Huang Bing probably knew how the Xian clansmen were laughing at her. However, since she was already here and had seen the person she missed dearly, it was impossible for her to give up. When she thought of this, her gaze became firm. She raised her head and looked at Qin Yao. Clan leader Qin Yao, this junior admires your elegant demeanor, but I hope that the zither and the zither will play in harmony. As soon as he said this, the surroundings fell silent. Qin Yao also raised his eyebrows in surprise. He knew that he was very popular and enjoyed the feeling of being admired. He had also received a lot of subtle confessions. However, this was the first time he had seen a desperate confession in front of so many people like this woman in front of him. Chapter 2078. Qin Yao had never been a gentle person. Those who didn't know him would be intoxicated by his gentle smile and handsome face, but those who knew him would never have any delusions about him. After Huang Bing said those words, many of the ancient Black Fox clansmen behind Qin Yao showed sympathetic expressions on their faces. They seemed to be able to imagine the ruthless words of their patriarch. Love was the most taboo and the most precious thing of the ancient Black Fox clan. Most of the ancient Black Foxes would never be able to find a true partner, so they would choose to be alone for the rest of their lives. Fortunately, most of the ancient Black Foxes were born from the demon transformation pool. Otherwise, if they had only inherited their bloodline with the style of this clan, they would have disappeared from the Tianxian continent long ago. As for the preciousness of love, once the ancient Black Foxes were moved, they would never give up. There was once a profound sage powerhouse who provoked a member of the ancient Black Fox clan. After the two sides were stuck together for decades, the human profound sage got tired of it and began to fall in love with someone else. That Black Fox dug out the heart of the human profound sage's new love and committed suicide. Before she died, she used her own blood as a curse, cursing that profound sage powerhouse to be alone for the rest of his life. The price of cursing that profound sage powerhouse was that the soul of the ancient Black Fox would never be able to escape from purgatory. Even so, she was unwilling to let the person who had betrayed her live a good life. Ordinary people didn't know, but at Huang Tian's level, she naturally had a much deeper understanding of certain things. Her gaze fell on Qin Yao. She didn't know what kind of response the patriarch of the ancient Black Fox clan would give. Qin Yao hesitated for a moment, which was rare. He had originally planned to reject her mercilessly. It was true that he enjoyed the feeling of being admired, but it was limited to a certain extent. Once he crossed that line, he would definitely draw a clear line with that person. The confession of the girl in front of him had obviously crossed the line. It was just that the determination and passion in her eyes were too scorching, and Qin Yao had a feeling that he didn't want to hurt this relationship too much. It was really inexplicable. He couldn't help but think to himself. At the same time, that faintly discernible feeling of prying appeared again. From the moment he had arrived at the profound palace, Qin Yao had already felt this gaze. He even secretly laughed at the Xian clan. They claimed to be one of the top clans of the human race, but they didn't even know that someone had snuck into their home. However, he did not dislike this gaze. In fact, he even felt very comfortable being stared at by the person in the dark. In the blink of an eye, he had a plan in his heart. Looking at the girl in front of him, Qin Yao smiled. "Thank you for your kindness. However, Qin Yao already has someone he likes," he said to Huang Bing with a faint smile. Huang Bing's face paled when she heard that. She was curious. What kind of woman could make clan leader Qin Yao fall in love with her? She wasn't the only one who was curious. Everyone who heard Qin Yao's words had their own guesses. Qin Yao glanced around and saw a leaf falling from a certain tree without any wind. His heart stirred, and a bold idea appeared in his mind. Everyone only saw the black-robed man's figure move and disappear in the blink of an eye. At a certain moment, Gu Shengyin suddenly sensed that someone was approaching and quickly retreated. "Who is it?" The elders of the Xian family were furious. Chapter 2079. They could clearly see that the person in the white cloak had appeared from the courtyard. In other words, this person had snuck into the Xian clan's residence without anyone knowing. If this person had any sinister intentions, wouldn't the clan members be in danger? Gu Shengyin glared coldly at the culprit standing not far away from him, then turned to face the furious elder of the Xian clan on the other side. "I have no ill intentions. I'm just passing by." The moment Huang Bing saw Gu Shengyin appear, she was so shocked that she wanted to greet her senior. However, a cold voice sounded in her mind. "Don't make a sound. You don't know me." The others probably didn't hear this because the Xian clan members didn't react. When Huang Bing heard this, she silently stopped the thought of walking out. After Gu Shengyin finished speaking, she didn't want to explain any further. She moved and prepared to leave. However, someone didn't let her leave. A black figure stood in front of her. "Move." Gu Shengyin looked at the man in front of her. She could sense that Qin Yao's strength wasn't inferior to hers. Or rather, it should be said that he wasn't inferior to her when she was at her peak. Now, she still had her old injuries. If Qin Yao really wanted to stop her, she might not be able to leave. Qin Yao didn't say anything. He carefully looked at the woman in front of him who was completely hidden in the cloak. He'd only forced her to show herself on a whim. However, when he saw her for real, he changed his mind. This woman always gave him a special feeling. Since that was the case, he couldn't let her leave. He smiled and looked at the woman in front of him affectionately. "It's fine if you're unhappy and angry with me. Why do you have to pretend that you don't know me?" "Gu Shengyin? What kind of script was this? The onlookers?" After a moment of confusion, the onlookers who were good at imagining things quickly thought of clan leader Qin Yao's affectionate words, "You already have someone you like." Something was happening. Countless pairs of eyes instantly looked at the two people who were confronting each other. Even the elder of the Xian family who had been glaring angrily at Gu Shengyin restrained his anger and looked at her curiously. Huang Bing's face also turned pale. She looked at Gu Shengyin and finally understood why this senior had personally come to warn her. She must be jealous, right? Gu Sheng, somehow, he felt that he was carrying a huge pot on his back. She was annoyed, so she naturally couldn't be nice to the person who started it. "I'll say it again, get out of my way." Qin Yao remained calm and unruffled. Gu Shengyin snorted coldly. She could tell that this man was deliberately going against her. She raised her hands and attacked with the power of lightning. It would be better to take advantage of this opportunity to catch him off guard and leave. That was what she thought, but she underestimated Qin Yao's strength. The other party didn't seem to have any difficulty receiving her attack, and he even had the leisure to stop her from leaving. The two of them were in a stalemate, but the onlookers on the side suffered. What kind of power would it be when two demigod powerhouses fought? Even though the two of them were taking into account that they were in someone else's territory and restrained themselves, the onlookers on the side retreated again and again. Those who were slightly weaker even turned pale and spat out mouthfuls of blood. When did such a powerful female profound sage appear in the Tianxin continent? 6 chapters. Today is Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the great mothers in the world. I woke up at 6 to be a diligent branch. Today's update will be posted all at once. Everyone, after reading it, spend more time with your mothers. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.